7 o'clock, I'm going to call the meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. Our first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Sarah.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All members of the Board of Selectmen are here and present. May I have a motion for a 5-minute recess?
Move that we take a 5-minute recess.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll call the meeting of the Board of Selectmen back to order. All members of the board are here and present. Our first item of business is the approval of meeting minutes from February 8th, 2024, from the joint meeting between the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Education. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to accept the February 8, 2024 Board of Selectmen, Board of Education joint special meeting as presented.
Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Seconded for discussion. Sarah, the floor is yours.
I have several errors on page 2. Under absent, it says that all members of the board were present for the budget presentation. It was not a budget presentation. It was a joint meeting. And on page 2. Unless my packet is incorrect, that's what I have. Budget presentation.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Also for guest speakers in person, Paul Anderson, Bill Lose, and Patricia Sherry. I don't believe that they were present at that meeting at this school. And I don't think they spoke. Okay.
Got it.
And then Saba was present in person, so I don't know if she should be listed as remotely as well as a speaker guest. So page 4, Rick Laborious, his name is L-E-B, not L-A-B, and he lives at 16 Church Street, not 63. That was your comment, was it with the name?
I said that sentence, but
Okay.
That's all.
All right, that's
Yeah.
what I have for corrections.
Any other corrections? All in favor of the minutes as corrected, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the regular meeting minutes from February 15th.
Move to approve the Board of Selectmen regular meeting minutes from February 15th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any corrections?
Yeah, it's just in my report, I know I didn't provide a printed one that it says that I attended Warehouse Point Fire Department. I would just like that clarified that that was the commissioners meeting, not just going to the fire department. And Arts and Culture is still a committee, not a commission.
I just have on page 5, section B, last line. There will be a section on it in class instruction for Italian, blah, blah, and adding 7 more classes subject. We're not adding any classes. There are existing positions that have time to add the extra subject matter, like a Chinese that they talked about in an art shop. But they're not adding any more to it.
Other corrections? All in favor of the minutes as corrected?
Aye.
Opposed? February 15th budget workshop.
Move to approve the February 15th, 2024 Board of Selectmen Budget Workshop Special Meeting.
Second. Any discussion or corrections?
Yes. Page 6, my comments under the town clerk. It says, with the upcoming election, do you need any help? My comment was in regards to early voting and foreseeing a additional work burden on the office, not just for the upcoming election.
Right. Okay,
And also on page 10, under public participation, it says Jimmy via Zoom commented on the budget process. I watched the video and that in fact did not happen. There was no such thing.
any other corrections? All in favor of the minutes as amended, please say aye. Opposed? February 22nd, budget workshop.
Move to approve the February 22nd, 2024 Board of Selectmen Budget Workshop Special Meeting minutes.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Are there corrections?
Yes, on page 4, under Park and Recreation. It has, we are the recipient of $800 for replacing our lights from ARPA fund. That's incorrect. What was stated was that, they received grant money in the amount of $800,000 for installation of soccer fields, soccer field lights and, playground from the State Bonding Commission. And if you look at what was presented from the, handout that Melissa gave us, it actually has it on here for clarification if anybody would like to see that. I can read it. And I did double check with Melissa today, to make sure that I had it accurate. And she agreed.
It's 800,000 in state bonds.
Yeah, bonding from the state commission. Yeah.
That's right.
You got it?
Oh, I know.
No, but the 800 is correct.
Yeah, yeah, I just, oh, here it is. If you go on to number 20 on the slide presentation, it's in the 1, 2, 3, the 4th paragraph.
I have correction as well. Are you still going, Murray, or no?
Go ahead.
On page 2, under presentations and interaction with Paul Anderson and the first selectman, where it says first selectman Jason Bauza said you asked for a 2% budget increase. That's not correct. The Broadbrook Library came in at a status quo budget, and the first selectman recommended in his budget a 2% increase.
That's right.
Okay,
On page 2. Where it says you asked for 2%, they did not ask. He put it in his recommendation.
Yep, that's right. Any others?
No, not for me.
All in favor of the minutes as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Budget workshop, special meeting, February 28th.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of February 28th, 2024 for the Board of Selectmen Budget Special Workshop Meeting.
Is there a second? Second. Made and seconded. Any corrections?
On the first page, under attendance, second line says Deputy First Selectman D'Souza, Selectman Yagala for president in person. That should have been Selectman Baker. Selectman Yagala signed in remotely.
I think that was the other.
I think that's the other way around.
That was on the prior minutes.
Yeah, Alan was remote for that one.
Maria, I was remote on the prior, and it was correct.
So then Selectman
Selectman Baker.
Baker is from the remote. Yeah, I knew it was wrong. Sorry about that. Thank you for the clarification.
Any other
And then on
corrections?
page 3.
That's actually correct.
That is,
Yeah, it was a turn of phrase, but what I was saying, the comment in question was that I said to pilot out the upcoming early voting and reassess the budget. I might use the early presidential primary as a pilot to test out if the staffing levels were achieved. That's correct. That's just a turn of phrase that I
Okay.
should correct.
I just want to make sure. That's all I got.
Any other corrections? All in favor of the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstained. Okay, public participation, this is one of two opportunities for members of the public to address the Board of Selectmen. I'll first ask if there's anybody here in the room who would like to address the board, and then I'll provide anybody who's online with the same opportunity. If you'd like to speak, please identify yourself by your name and your address and state your business. Is there anyone here present who would like to address the Board of Selectmen? Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Lawrence Johansson, Scandic Road, 235. So I stand up here, right?
Wherever you'd like to.
So some questions here, as you might know, you might be aware of, I believe that you have received, of course, some letter from me. I have questions here as to who's paying for the financial source for Jason Bowser's personal town-wide advertisement seeking people to support his candidacy for run for first selectman for East Windsor. The town of East Windsor, or the East Windsor Democratic Town Committee. How much has been spent on this promotion? And what allowances are there to make use of what appears to be the emergency Everbridge call alert system? I'm not sure if that's the correct name. Is it true that First Selectman Jason Bowser and other Board of Selectmen members actively sought out the solar companies in order for them to take over the 1,000 acres of our town's most peaceful and pristine farmlands, and to provide special negotiations reducing the taxes averaging $278 an acre annually? This is no comparison to the surrounding towns' structures for energy in a comparable agreement. Facilitating and incentivizing this arrangement goes directly against the third portion of East Windsor's Board of Selectmen's website mission statement. Facilitate the town's economic development while preserving its rural charm. With all the solar farms going up against the town people's unanimous vote and stance against them, are there future plans to build another unwanted solar farm on the plot cleared across from the Historical Society or any other land parcels in town? Are any of the Connecticut Council for Solar Farms individuals from East Windsor? Did you use the town's SARS-CoV-2 funding in order to pay off the town's debt? If so, would this be a misappropriation of monies? Would this require, this would require a sequestering of receipts to receive to provide evidence as to where all the money went? Can you elaborate upon the tens of millions in state and federal funding mentioned in the personal town-wide political advertisement? Regardless of the allegations that the townspeople were allegedly under an impression they were voting yet again against the Historical Society venue, was it bipartisan to hold the second vote on behalf of the senior citizen Scout Hall when the first vote resulted in a clear no against it? Under what form were any of these votes accomplished? As the host arranging the second voting on behalf of the senior citizens to occupy Scout Hall, the administration of voting should have been held executively at the town hall, which provides for the attendance of every and anybody of that town. Why wasn't there sufficient forewarning and clarification regarding the appropriate venue, as well as making the voting easily accessible for the public, which is a First Amendment violation? I believe that holding closed door votes makes the whole process null and void. The federal funding is needed to mitigate the environmental concerns in both Mill Street condominiums containing toxic dyes from the leather tanning United Technologies in their chemicals they have buried. I'm not certain if it's there, but there was at one point an intermediary business, ITT, needing further investigation to these polluted grounds. The prolonged negligence of action taken on behalf of these matters. The contamination matter has been swept under the rug for generations. The maintaining of the status quo to keep these issues, as well as whose remained negligent of those responsibilities on behalf of the town of East Windsor from being addressed and those responsible held liable. And I sent a copy of this to you guys, all of you. No responses 1 month ago. It was brought up by actually you, Ms. Sousa, at the meeting. And it was actually disregarded publicly, and I didn't appreciate that. And Jason, you didn't speak up in, at least on my behalf, saying that, yes, this person exists, all on the basis of the fact that it wasn't signed, even though there was the address and everything. So that would have been nice.
I didn't get your name.
Lawrence Johansson the fourth.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And here's copies for all of you. Because I know that you guys want to sign copies, because I'm the living man. And you guys, may not know that I am alive and well, but I want to make sure you have signed copies. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome.
Are there any other public comments?
And this is for the record.
Are there any other public comments? Are there any other public comments? Is there anybody online who would like to address the members of the board? If they'll their hand up. Anybody online who would like to address the board? Seeing none, there will be another opportunity later in the meeting. We are on to resignations. We have 3. They are in your packet. Zach Capiteo has opted not to re-up his term as an ethics commissioner.
Move to accept the resignation with regret of Zachary Capiteo from the Ethics Commission.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Brian Turley has asked to resign from the Economic Development Commission.
Move to accept the resignation with regret of Brian Turley from the Economic Development Commission.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Maura Harney has asked to step down from the BMX Skate Park Committee.
Move to accept with regret the resignation of Laura Harney from the BMX Skate Park Committee.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a comment.
Sure.
Want to thank Laura Harney for her service on the BMX skate park committee. That's a small committee that's doing a lot of big work in town, and I'm sure she's going to be missed. She's been on that committee for, I don't know if it's been more than 10 years.
Since the beginning.
Since the beginning of the yeah, it's a little saddened to see her step aside, but want to thank her for the hard work.
I was taken back and disappointed to see the reason why she was resigning. It seems that she'd still want to do the work of the committee, and it's unfortunate to have a personal conflict. But I do have a question. I know May 4th of 2023, the Board of Selectmen had updated the Town of East Windsor sexual and other unlawful harassment policy. Is there remember that we were having, is there a mannerism in which new appointees and people are signing that? Or
Amy,
how are we?
What documents do you provide when somebody gets signed into office or sworn into office?
So if it's the first time, just, like the ethic codes, and they sign for that.
Code of ethics.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a running list, I think, since before I started. So, I mean, most people, been on it. Sometimes people get missed, but mostly, I mean, we usually ask, if it's somebody new, have you received the ethics packet? And they'll usually say no, so we give them the packet and they sign off.
Is there a way that we could add this to that? Because I don't know that I know when we passed it, we handed it to all the committees, but I think since then, new members have come on, and I don't know that there's a mechanism in which they're reading it and signing it.
We can, I mean, that's up to you. It's just, if you want me to do that, I can add it to what we have already.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, so there's a motion and a second on the acceptance of the resignation. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oops. All right, now we're on to new appointments. Charlie Nordell has stepped forward and is willing to serve on the Ethics Commission. His application is in your packet.
I'll move to appoint Charles Nordell to the Ethics Commission as a regular member for a term expiring March 7th, 2028.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? I'll just say, Charlie, thank you for stepping forward again. Appreciate your continued service. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We're now on to new business. Agenda item 9A, discussion of the radio system replacement to include our emergency services chiefs. Many of them are here. Chief Carl, I presume you're taking the lead?
I am. Thank you for your time. Let me put this thumb drive in.
Is it clean?
It's a clean thumb drive. It won't track it. It'll track it. While he's getting that going, like I said, I want to thank you. This is a project that's taken a long time. There's a lot of information in here. And although I fashion myself as an exceptional conversationalist, I'm sure Mr. Anderson doesn't want to hear me talk all night. So we're going to try to pack as fast as we can. And I have a lot of support. This was a committee sort of took place from all the users, and you'll see when he gets this going. But in the room here, I have many members of this radio project, if you can get it going. Bill Freeman from the police department, he's our IT communications supervisor. Ben Murphy, he's the deputy chief. He took over, he's been involved in the last couple of months. We have the fire chiefs that have both representatives from Broadbrook and Warehouse Point. They were here from the start. I've asked, we've got Tommy Clinch, who was sort of father time with the whole thing because he remembers the system when we put it in place. You'll see many, many years ago. He's not here, but he's been replaced by Charlie. And well, not replaced by Charlie, but Charlie's here to step in for him. Doug Ransicott from TN, he's a representative of TN, if you guys remember our town county dispatch. We also have Manny Litos from Motorola. We have Noam Boucher, who's our consultant from the town. And some meetings, Dr. Tudrin attended some meetings. I think we bored him, so he trailed off, and you'll see why when we get through this process. So I say this because in the end, there's a slide for questions. I encourage questions on this. This is a huge project, it's taken a long time. So if you have any questions, we have the experts in here. I started this by knowing what I knew about the radios. When you keyed it up, it went somewhere. That's just about all I knew. And I don't know anywhere near what these folks know. And that's why I've asked them to be here tonight. So this is about the radio replacement project. Selectman Bowser can go to the next slide. Real quick statement of the problem. You can see, so we have a EF Johnson LTR multi net trunk radio system. It's reached its end of life. We brought this in about circa 2005. You'll see that the manufacturer notified us about 2 years later, they're ending manufacturing of the system. And then the parts were only going to be guaranteed till 2013 with the support. And so we are obviously, everybody knows what year we're in. So this system is completely dead. I'm going to make a statement right now, completely dead. I think I'll articulate how we're even surviving at this point. So you'll see no public safety system should reach this point of its life. So that's a statement of the problem. We're going to go through what we're doing to try to mitigate that or solve that. So if you can go to the next screen. Townwide users, this is not a police department system. I am the spokesman tonight, but it's not a police department. This is a town system. So we have our fire services, we have our police department, we have our ambulance, public works, town hall, social services. Those are they primarily use it for the buses for the senior center. We have our East Windsor School District and Talon County Mutual Aid Fire Services, 911 for effectively known as TN. And, you know, they're up there because we can certainly make decisions that would cause them some issues. So they have a seat at the table because we don't want to break anything they're doing. They provide us a great service. So those are the players. If you go to the next screen. what we were seeing, right? So I put some of these things up there. I'm gonna try to speak to them, and you guys may be impressed, but the experts are gonna giggle, because this is my vulgar generalization of trying to explain this. We started seeing busies, busy times, so that's where we key up the microphone, and we're in a pursuit, we key up, and nothing's going anywhere. It's just not going anywhere. It happened to me quite a while ago, and we were seeing those quite a bit. Voting card issues was that. The best I can tell you, I think, and these guys could describe it better, is so I key up on the subscriber, I key up, the network is voting on what frequency it may or may not go to. We had card issues, and we weren't finding a place for it to go over the air. Did I get like at least a B- on that? All right, perfect. We had backup, we had power issues a couple weekends ago. We had a power surge. The power didn't go out at our main site, but what ended up happening was the surge protectors, the breakers went. We didn't know that. We have no monitoring equipment. The battery backup drained at about 10:30 on a Saturday night, I believe, system failed. We don't have monitoring for that. The shelter up there is inadequate for public safety. So we came in, thank God that was the issue. We were able to mitigate that, get the power back on through the surge, and we're trying to spend some money to fix that. I have a lightning strike up there. Several months ago, the tower was hit. And so I included this on there because the tower was hit, and although there was a lot of damage done, most of it was covered under KERMA, our insurance, but we elected to cover it, not the solution that we would if this was permanent equipment. There's only power to some parts, and it was a reduced cost. So we decided that moving forward, we were going to fix this whole system anyways. We didn't spend a lot of money. So even though that system was replaced, it was replaced at cost, but not to the new standards. So that's one of the issues. Channel failures. We have an LTR system. There's 4 channels. One of them was having a lot of problems. I was talking about the voting card, some of the busies. Our current vendor, Marcus Communications, decided to shut that channel down. So we're at 3 channels. You'll see I'll highlight the importance of that moving forward. Really on the LTR system is only using our LTR system with the 3 channels is our fire department. And I believe our ambulance and school district. The police department's on something separate, and so is public works and senior center. So what we did, we weren't having any success in our confidence in our backup, so we subscribed to a Tango app. Funny term, but it's an app that's on your phone. It connects to the system. It uses the data from cellular, so it's not on that. So anywhere in the country, anywhere you have cellular service, it could be in LAX and you could hear our radio system. We open that up to the fire department's ambulance and a few others. I think you guys are getting success with that. Subscribers can go on there. We can set them up as either their own channel, which I think we're going to do. The more channels you have, the cheaper the cost is, but it's a backup system. The other thing is that we can have people come into town. If detectives are doing something, they're working out of town, we can give them access to that. They can have their own talk group. And we're finding great success. Verizon tried to give us something about maybe a year ago. We tried it for a short period of time, packed it up, gave it to them, and I told them it was junk. It was nowhere near public safety. Go back to the drawing board and figure it out. Tango's working very, very good. And so Marcus, our current vendor, met with me a couple of months ago about some issues, and then they notified us that they can no longer find any parts to our system. So there's critical parts that if this system does go down, they have developed a not so eloquent solution to this, but it wouldn't be good. But our system is just done. The LTR system is done. So based on all of that.
That's your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just me. So I'm just trying to follow along here. We have the town has a radio system, a radio device apparatus that's located in a building with a large antenna.
Yes.
And that sends and receives transmissions through that radio system.
Yes.
It's not manned, it's an unmanned system.
Yes.
And other people in town have receivers and transmitters, different forms that communicate through the radio system.
Yeah, so we actually have 2 sites. We have one main site that transmits and receives, and we have one here in the town hall with that tower that receives only, right? Receives only, doesn't transmit. Wasn't supposed to be designed that way. All of the users key up and it goes basically through that system. And it communicates our needs out.
So it's like a routing system for transmitting data to and from people that are using their devices out in the community.
Right.
And is that part of the system, the individual transmitter receivers that someone's using, or is that separate from the radio system you're talking about replacing?
Nope, so there's two sides of it. So there's a radio system we're talking about replacing. That's the equipment you're talking about. There's consoles at the PD, the towers, the shelters, the things that are inside that make that work. Then there's a subscriber. The subscriber stuff is the radios, the handhelds and the mobiles. There's two sides to this coin.
So that's all gonna be changed out.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we're hoping all that gets changed out.
Thank you.
B plus on that one? All right.
Fine.
These guys, yeah, so if I had to do this 2 years ago, I would have been like, I have a radio key. I don't know. Anyways, next. So what did we do? So early, we knew that we're having some problems. So we put out an RFP for some consultants that went out in 2021. We received some proposals in February of 2021 and we signed with Communication Design Consultants LLC September of 2021, and we had 3 phases. They gave us an extra proposal. They submitted to the town, and then I have the signed agreement that we went with them. We went with them, and I'm glad that we did. That's Norm and his group. They've been excellent. Way too much time on the phone explaining basic things. He's come down to the meetings, and I think they did a really good job. But they broke it up to 3 phases. Phase 1 is a needs assessment, radio study, work plan. They went around, talked to just about, talked to everybody, developed it, looked at our system, took photographs, saw where we were from, and a lot of things, at high level about where our frequencies, mapping, coverage, things like that are just a little bit beyond me to speak intelligently about, but it was a robust system, plan. We entered out of phase 1 and we're into phase 2 now. That's the RFP development and system procurement, and then they would stay with us all the way through the implementation and vendor oversight. We received a draft of their plan January of 2022, and we received the final in June of 2022. And that final plan is one of the ones that we're working off. You'll see some of it here now. So great job, comprehensive, but you can see we're coming up almost on 2 years from when we actually got the plan. So next. Some of the options, it's clunky, and I definitely got to move closer to read this, but they determined, our consultant determined we had basically 4 options, right? So option 1, and the items all the way on the left are hard to read, but these are the different components, things that they wanted to look at, coverage, footprint, things like that. But option 1 was an East Windsor standalone system. Option 2, the one more towards the middle on the left, is East Windsor system. It's a extended Windsor system into the East Windsor. So it's Windsor, Connecticut into East Windsor. And then there was 2 options on the end. It's a state campus, and then both of those are the state police systems. One's a campus and one's 100% CL and that's Connecticut Land Mobile Radio Network. Nailed it. Yeah, I got an A on that one. So
4 heads popping up and down.
you see the head. I'm looking at Doug's head. He's got the critical look on me, so he's gonna grade me after this. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in there, and you see some of the costs in the bottom, estimated costs, and Selectmen, to your point, you see the infrastructure costs, and then underneath that, the subscriber costs. Those subscribers are what you're talking about, what the radios are and the mobiles. So it is broken up into 2. Couple years old, estimated. You can go to the next page. You can see, again, this is just the options broken out with more things, frequency requirements, dual band, police, fire. It's pretty comprehensive with the options. So given those options, we move forward. Next screen. So what did we do in the last couple of years, right? So we tested the state radio coverage, the viability. We asked the state to come in and give us radios. We tested them, terrible. They were terrible. One of the problems was we didn't have coverage over here because I think we're hitting on an Avon tower, maybe some tower far away, because they're not in this region. So it didn't really do well. Now, just talking a little bit about the coverage. I didn't realize this, but education on that, there's different coverage that you get if your radio's on your hip, if your radio's up here, if you have a mic, if there's, you're in a street or street coverage. And then there's different factors if you're in buildings and how the buildings are designed, and they're like R factors and they change. And obviously newer high schools and things like that have glass and steel and stuff like that, it's harder to get out. So we did a coverage of that, and that didn't really go too well. So looking at the state, initially, we were thinking that's not going to be one of the options that we can do. RFP draft for a standalone system with our consultant. I say draft only. Norm and his group put together an RFP. We're on a analog system. We want to go to the digital. That's a 460 frequency, and we're looking for 700-800 frequency. There's a lot of reasons on that. The police, selfishly, I want that because the state system is digital and interoperability. When we have what's called a blue plan or an incident where we have to go to other towns, we want to be able to talk to folks that are all on the same system. And our system is not something right now that supports that. We put the draft together and it stayed with us. We looked at it and stayed with us because that was our standalone. We didn't know if we were going to move forward with that. We did meet with Windsor representatives to discuss the Windsor option. Obviously, attaching to them, we can't make decisions for Windsor. We wanted to see what kind of appetite they had. So we tested their radios. We got agreement with them. We tested their radios. The fire department, one of the bullets in there, the fire officials conducted extensive testing of the radio coverage, town structures inside and out, and they did spreadsheets. They did an excellent job. Really, really good job. And so we started to look at what the coverage was going to be. We met with Motorola representatives, coverage mapping multiple times. Manny Litos, his crew did some work on what it would look like if we were on the Windsor system. They have 3 sites. We have one site on Prospect Hill, and we didn't consider a site in Broadbrook. But working off of the 3 sites in Windsor, we had pretty good coverage. It started to die and not get to where we were really comfortable with when you start to get into some of those factors, R factors and stuff when you get into buildings. But we did meet with the state as this progressed. Let me digress. I'm going to go down a little bit here. I got these a little out of order. One of the things to keep our system alive, you'll see that we moved the public works and social services off of the LTR on a DMR. A DMR system is like it's a commercial version of a public safety system. It's different. It's statewide. Marcus was able to do that for us. Like again, Marcus has been very good at keeping the system alive for us. So they moved them off to the DMR. We also moved the police department off the LTR and onto the P25. So we had a lot of users move off of this because the LTR system, our system, if we all went back onto that system, would just crash. There's just too much traffic on that system. So that's what we did to keep it alive. And one of the benefits we had is that we tested the P25 digital system, which is a public safety system in our town with 1 tower location, which is the transmit receive one at Prospect Hill. We also tested the DMR with GPS, knowing where the buses were and where the workers were. And that we got great results back from that. We do have a need to secure a radio system for the school district. The system that we have, the state doesn't take on all of the needs of a school district. There's just too many radios. They don't have an issue with certain number of radios that go into them so that they can communicate out in the event that there's an emergency. But to give all of the need for the school to put on the state system, you can't. So you sort of have to have a DMR or some other version of a system that the school district would use. So not leaving anybody behind. And certainly want a solution. Our solution moving forward will not only take care of public safety, but it has to take care of our schools. So there'll be two systems that we move forward with. We did meet with the state telecommunication representative in Windsor to discuss a Windsor state option. And then that led into some bonding money through the state, which is why we're here moving forward. So that's what we did to vet some of these options. I made this real small. I didn't think about this at all. So where do we need to go, right? So moving forward, it was decided again, in part, we have to have good partners with the state, with Windsor and ourselves. It's no longer just looking at our system if we're going to bond money through the state. So the decision was made to design, create a Windsor as a substation that will connect to the state through that Connecticut Land Mobile radio network. And then we would attach to them. And there's two manners in which we can attach to them. The other thing is we were looking to finance this through the state bonding committee. And we have a deadline to get, well, Manny has a deadline and Motorola has a deadline to get numbers back to us on April 1st. So that's one of the considerations we put out. Due to the possibility of delay in a tower for a second location. So if you remember, we have a Prospect Hill site, the tower site here at the town hall is not going to be, we're going to abandon it. It's not working for us. So we started to focus in on the opportunity or the need for a second site. So we looked at that. We looked at a couple locations. Motorola and their crew did a fantastic job mapping. If we told them we want a site, maybe what would be the best location to put a tower on some of the land that we own, Covert Farm, here, they did the mapping. We tried to look at what it would like if we put a tower on top of the Broadbrook firehouse, because we have that building. It didn't get out for technical reasons. There's microwave and other issues that it just doesn't connect. So the tower was the second site is what the East Windsor needs in the tower location, which can take some time. So because of the possible delay in getting a tower second location, the plan needs to start using the Windsor sites plus one of our own sites until the tower can be built and bedded through. The thing about a tower is you talk about the siting council and all that other stuff. If the tower is our tower and we don't put anything on it, we go through planning and zoning. We don't have to get permission from the siting council. So we have a little bit of leeway there.
Chief Carl, do you know what the time frame is on that? If you didn't have to go to the siting council or versus if you did?
So I don't. The towers and structures come with structures, right? So they need a structure and they need a little map. We have an idea how big the area would need to be, but there's a lot of factors I don't know. I know that we started conversations with Crown Castle, who makes towers in the area. We basically started a conversation and say, hey, let's be friends. We might be in business together in the future, right? So we're smusing them a little, right? So hopefully we get some preferred time, but that's difficult. That's a delay. There's planning and zoning, there's all kinds of things that come up with that. But I think we're confident that we can move forward. There's a need for us to move forward, and you'll see as I go through the slide, there's a need for that. So user equipment for this budget, we wanted to give Motorola an opportunity to say, okay, well, what's your budget? What are you looking for? What kind of radios? There's all kinds of radios. We tested a bunch of them. Matter of fact, he just came back. We just turned all the radios over to him. There's a variety of radios that you can imagine. But so we put a place set in there to APX 8000 multi-band for all of the users and some parameters in there that would be acceptable to us. There's if there's a less expensive multi-band solution that's acceptable to the state, again, I want to be clear, not our system. So we can't just go say, well, we're going to buy this radio. If it doesn't connect to the state, if it's not to their level, if it's not to Windsor's level, then we can't use those radios. And so we included some encryption on the police department radios as well for a price. Okay. Motorola radios APX 8500 for emergency services. DPW and the senior buses could go down to the 4500s or the 15. And then also we have bikes, and there's a standard. We wanted a certain level for our mics, the shoulder mics, and that they had to have audio noise canceling and audio enhancement. So those were sort of their parameters for them to get back to us with a cost. So we gave them a little box to work. Next. What are the benefits to this system versus our standalone? We're going to have our own subscriber. We're going to be on an island. The state of Connecticut will not endorse a standalone system. It's got to be something that we can reach out, and we just, in this day and age with interoperability problems, we just can't be standalone. So going to the state or connecting to the core. One of the things is the state system is monitored 24/7. So what happens in our current system right now is that we don't know if there's a problem. The other 2 weekends ago, we don't know that there's a surge at our tower. It's not monitored. And then all of a sudden our battery backup's drained and then the system goes dead. First time we're hearing it is a dispatcher or a fire department or one of the police officers saying, well, radio doesn't work. With the state system, it's monitored 24/7. They'll know something's wrong long before we do. So rather than us picking it up, they look at the system and say, hey, there's something wrong here. We need to get on that. and they maintain their system and keep up with it. It's a more robust, it's more coverage. We have more coverage options. When we leave East Windsor, we can go into a roaming, and there's different factors, and I don't want to talk too much about that because I don't know how that's gonna lay in there, but we all have a greater footprint to go in the state and around the state and still have connectability. When incidents happen in Newington, and I highlight Newington because one of the last ones that we went on, there was a shooting down in Newington. They asked for mutual aid. We had to send an officer. When everybody got down there, none of the radios worked because they're all interoperable. So we had to, you know, the Procopa, which is the chiefs of police, are looking for a platform on the state system where we can get back to what they call a RAS or General 700, where everybody can speak together. So we would have greater coverage. Shared maintenance costs, we would share these costs with Windsor, and, you know, potentially the state. The system will be upgraded as needed. We don't get into this 20-year, our system's outdated. We didn't upgrade what we had to. When new technology comes out and updates come through, they'll, you know, unfortunately be in some of the maintenance costs, but it'll stay current. And there's legislation out there, and possibly it's being proposed that the state would pick up the cost of maintenance of a system if they were actually maintaining that after 5 years. I put proposed there because that most likely, I don't know where that's going to go. It's just one of the things that they said that they may offer. It may be in the future. I know that the Procopa, the chiefs of police, the Capital Region chiefs of police, they're going to push for the state legislators at the state level to pick up some of those costs for some of that stuff. So I'm hoping that that actually goes through. So those are some of the benefits that we see of this option. Next. Bonding criteria. So we started a conversation with our local legislation just before Thanksgiving. I think it was Wednesday, 4 o'clock, night before Thanksgiving, when a representative said, hey, how much money do you need?
It was our swearing in night.
Was it?
Yeah, because I was at a conference. It was our swearing in night.
Okay, so whatever. So it was pressure. So I get a phone call, how much money do we need? I'm thinking, oh, wow, I don't know, let's see this real quick. I didn't realize I was gonna have to answer this tonight. So we put a place set in there in the swearing in night of $3.7 million. That's based off of the work that was done in one of the options. So the bonding criteria was we needed an endorsement from the Director of Emergency Telecommunications, State of Connecticut. Clayton Norgraves contacted him. Our group met. He came to a global meeting that we had. We told him our plan. He endorsed it, gave us a letter endorsing that, which is acceptable to the state legislation, governor's office. So I checked that box. Shovel ready project. Made it clear to everybody involved that we have to keep this. This has to keep moving. It can't die. It has to be shovel ready. One of the other things coming out of the state is that we had to have local funding contribution. We don't know what that looks like right now, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then we have to enhance communications deficiencies in the region. So in the 11th hour, a local community has a deficiency. They're in a state jurisdiction. They have a deficiency. So we were asked if this bonding fund could not only fix Windsor's issues, because Windsor can't get to that. The same issues that we're having about talking at a global, like a higher level, communications with the state, Windsor has to. So Windsor gets to where they need to, we get to where we need to, and this local jurisdiction, Ellington, they fix a problem that they may have. So we were asked to do that. Next. I will say that moving forward here, I didn't put a slide in here, but this is my opinion, right? So I'm gonna give you my opinion because, well, I'm the chief and I deserve that. So anyways. Two things are a priority here. Two things I think are the most important thing that we have to do, and they run concurrently. One, I think that now that this is out and we're gonna work with the Windsor system, I think we have to have an agreement. I think the Board of Selectmen has to reach out to Windsor officials and get an agreement about what a shared cost would be. It's certainly going to be cheaper than if we had to do a standalone or whatever we want to do, but that has to be put in place and we need an agreement. One of the things that we don't have moving forward is we have a shelter, we have some equipment that's up there. We don't know what's on our site or who's got it there, but there's not a lot of security and there's certainly no agreements that are comfortable to me or anybody that's been on this team. So we need an agreement with Windsor. Running concurrently at the same time, we need to know what a cost is. About a week ago, that same legislator reached out and said, hey, I need to update our placement. If we're gonna get on the bond commission agenda at the end of May, what is our cost? What is our placement? So it's determined that we're gonna try to hit that end of the May, get on there, get the money. And I think we need to know a cost. So pressure on Motorola to give us what the cost of that system is gonna look like. While we're doing that, our committee is still gonna meet and have a conversation about our subscriber. Selectman Yagloff, to your point, about what mobiles we're gonna buy, how many mobiles, how many does the fire department need, how many does the police department need, what works, what doesn't work. Some of that, that things, because that's a separate cost. What radios and what things like that. But when we finally get a cost, I believe that the legislators in the state or the bonding commission or the governor's office can then tell us what local costs are. Most important thing is, what's this gonna cost the taxpayers of East Windsor? Well, we don't know that number until we know our costs, right? So I believe that's the way it goes. So that's my opinion on what are the two most important things moving forward now. And then obviously be shovel ready because we wanna move forward. So in speaking with the state of Connecticut, Clayton and one of their representatives, an architect of the whole thing, Scott Wright, he said there's no delay on their end. I talked to TN and there's not a lot of delay on their end. So if we can get the things moving, we can be shovel ready. So I think we got to keep moving as a committee. We got to make sure that there's a solution for the school district. Whether that's Marcus's DMR or Motorola has a version of that, turbo version of that, but there'll be two combined public safety system and some DMR commercial level system. The two would move forward with where we are. I don't want to take up too much time. I think that's everything, but now questions. Any questions?
Okay, so there's a lot coming at us there.
But it is a lot. It's a ton. And I encourage all the questions.
Go ahead. So it's kind of like a follow-up to my earlier question about location and things. So the Windsor, the combined Windsor plan, it sounds like the main apparatus equipment is gonna be placed in the Windsor area. And we're gonna have like repeater towers or something, and we're gonna be communicating. Because I'm trying to understand the necessity of the tower sounds like really important for us, because we're gonna be using that to communicate into the system that might be located in Windsor.
Right, so Windsor has their system. Theirs is new, 2020 maybe-ish. They have 3 locations. They have 3 tower locations that cover their jurisdiction. We have one in Prospect Hill. It's up by the water tower. No secret there. How that connects, I think I'm gonna leave to maybe Norm or Manny, which the guts of the system would be in Windsor, right?
Yeah, so right now the Windsor system is a standalone pump system, 3 sites, all connected with microwave. And so the plan for East Windsor is to expand that system into East Windsor, Prospect Hill, and possibly another site to get the coverage that we can need for and have coverage. These 2 new sites will need to be connected to the Windsor site core. There's a big server there that runs everything, and that's done with microwave as well. So I think Motorola mentioned they did all of the line of sight work, and it looks like we've got some pretty good caps finding how to connect or expand the Windsor system into East Windsor.
So the towers are, like, I'm just thinking like snowstorms, major weather events. This is like not gonna be, I mean, the towers are set up and the connectivity is set up so that we're not gonna have problems like during snowstorms and that sort of thing. Right?
Correct, yeah. So the microwave is redundant.
Yeah.
And the redundancy that's being used here is everything's in a ring. So if you lose one hop that connects all of the sites continue.
Do these towers, so it's sounds like we really want a tower, because like you said, because we got one in Prospect Hill, we got
Yes.
coverage on, you know, where I live in
Yes.
Public, I want to make sure you have a tower.
Yes.
Somewhere nearby, but I don't want to be overlooked by property, so you got a problem with that, right?
Right. Well, I know where it's potentially gonna go, but it's a secret.
But everybody, that's why towers are one of those things that's right out of my backyard.
I actually have a map on there.
I know.
Is the, are the towers like also available for like the general public for like repeater use for like, ham radio operators or not really?
Well, I think the plan is, to have it solely as a public safety.
Right.
Tower. If the town wants to, I guess, you could have other users on the tower.
Do people,
If there's room, so, the tower's gonna have, 2, maybe 3 antennas, right, and a couple of microwave dishes. And then obviously the transmission line is gonna be multiple repeaters and shelter. Everything's gonna be connected to 48-volt batteries. And so if you lose power at the site, there's probably gonna be a generator there, but if the generator doesn't start, the batteries will be sized to 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, whatever the time.
does the Windsor system have like private, like cell phone operators and things on their towers or? Is there a-
Yeah, so the Windsor system is built on towers that belong to cellular companies or companies that one towers that leases the site. So they were able to make a deal there. I think Comcast is probably most of them there. They're on a system, I think, with no any kind of monthly fee.
Yeah, so there, so the one thing I didn't mention too is that there's a capacity for Windsor to take us on. That's another important thing. There's capacity there. The tower that we are proposing or want to put into the site, and the location was determined by the best coverage by the Motorola experts. This is the general location you want to be in, and this is what you're going to get the best coverage. If we build the tower ourselves or we construct it, we just go through our planning and zoning. If we offer any type of carriers to come on there, which we would then charge them and get a monthly fee, they are responsible to go to the siting council, not the town. They have to do it, not us. If we try to do it ahead of time, then we have to get permission for that. There's actually a Verizon tower that's being proposed. It's pretty far down the siting council. It's on the crop production site. I met with Marcus earlier this week, and it was determined that they have a sharing agreement there. Of course, they wanted to have that sharing agreement, and that sharing agreement window will close if we don't try to get that. But the sharing agreement is for us to get on there for a public safety network thing. But the issue is the tower is not, it's 120 feet. Ours needs to be 150. It's not in the best location. It doesn't serve our purpose, but just in case the bonding and everything falls apart, I don't want that window to close. So it was determined that I would draft up a letter with Marcus and we would send it off to the siting council saying, hey, we're gonna want that site potentially in the future and keep it open. So that's sort of a backup for us. But that's not ideal for where we want to go. The new tower is in the structure we want. It's about a 50 by 50 footprint in the around, and again, it would have a generator and it would be a public safety shelter. The shelter that we have on Prospect Hill needs to be replaced as well. That's really a shed with some vinyl siding. It's not public safety. It's not, a concrete shelter. It's not what it needs to be. So that would be replaced too. With shelters,
Speaking hyperbolically, that is what it is.
that's exactly
I
what it is.
believe it.
And so, and we don't have the monitoring that we need, but the tower that I think we're proposing, so we don't get caught up with a lot of, siting council and doing that, is initially public safety. And then the town could decide later to open it up to carriers. And then you get into the leasing fees and things like that.
So do we have enough money, do we have enough information now to add that cost of that second tower into this bonding request?
Well,
I'm concerned if we leave it out and have to come back to it, we're gonna be scraping around for the money. It sounds like $1 million.
yeah, I think the cost of that 3.7 and the local thing does have the cost of a tower in there, I believe. I don't. Manny's tight with it. He's got a poker face. He won't tell us what it. I didn't want to tell him how much money we had. We were in negotiations like, well, what's my budget? What's my budget? Well, we did budget a little bit for a tower. I mean, typically before, I think they were coming in at 300 or they're up as high as 600 because you got a shelter. I'm gonna throw these numbers out. I'm not a radio guy, but 200,000 for a shelter and then the tower or whatever you're doing, you're probably $600,000. I know we're trying to replace consoles down at the police department, upgrade the thing there, and I don't know what the whole cost is going to come in at. We're gonna have to see that. But yes, it is included in that initial. I'm not looking for So if there's gonna be one bite at the apple, I want you guys to have all the information. I don't want to take a nibble and then come back and say we need more, to your point. So, but we'll see that. And if it's Crown Castle that builds it, I don't know what we're gonna do moving forward. Bill Freeman has started smusing them a little with. We haven't sent cupcakes yet, but we're in the process of doing that. Sharpen the pencil a little bit on what that looks like, but we're opening up negotiations because they build most of them in the area. I think. So.
Other questions?
So just so I have the right information. So by the end of May, you need to figure is what it's gonna be the cost share from Windsor.
Sooner than that. We're gonna hopefully have some type in beginning of April, a cost of the system.
Okay.
And we can take a look at that. And then
May.
the end of May is when we make it to the bond commission's agenda. And then they would vote and accept it.
So Manny is working on developing what the plan will be inclusive of the cost estimate.
Yeah.
One of the requirements on us by the time this comes to the bond commission's agenda at the end of May, is that we've secured local approvals for the project, that we're shovel ready, that we've gotten sign off from the state that it's compatible with what their expectations are. And what's the fourth? There's four things. Oh, and we had to make sure that we were reaching out to Ellington to cover their shortcoming. Yeah, all of which are in process. The only thing that the two things that we don't have, we don't have the estimate from Motorola and we don't have the local approval yet, which we can't get until we have the estimate from Motorola.
And the only thing that is changed from last conversation that I had with people, the school is going to be on a separate system for most of their radios, except for those that are required for you guys to communicate with.
Yes, yeah, it's in talking to their security, earlier this week, I met with their security director there, and he said, you know, listen, most of the time we're calling 911, we don't need a lot of radios. I want to provide them half a dozen radios so that they're in the locations that they need to get on there and they got direct connection to any services they need, just in case there was, you know, a medical aid, fire or something, you know, unspeakable in the school. But internally, they have, you know, a pretty robust system that wouldn't be on a public safety. It would be on a commercial level. And the DMR, you know, Marcus has got a great DMR program as far as it's working with Public Works, and it's a statewide system. We're seeing that, but Motorola has a version of that too. So yes, you're having two different systems moving forward.
But where do we go from here?
So where we go from here, again, my opinion, I think that somebody's got to reach out to Windsor, and I'm talking high level, and start the conversation about, now we know that there's an appetite for that because they're looking at saying, wait, we've been trying to get there. I talked to Chief Melanson, he's the chief of police. They've been trying to get to this level and not had the funding for a while. The state's coming in saying, hey, we want to strengthen this region. We're going to provide you funding. So, but we have to look at what that cost share is going to look like. So I think that those conversations with Windsor have to happen. I also think that initially we have to get our subscriber list, which we've already started. That's what, you know, Public Works needs for radios, what the police department, what the fire departments do, what the ambulance, what TN needs and things like that. Get that list down. This is what we need, and that's going to give us a cost, a general cost of where we're at now. Can we nip and tuck that? Probably can nip and tuck that. But if you have that cost and you have what Motorola comes back with, and again, we just looked at all of their range of radios. And, you know, I'm not going to get too much into radios, but you got single band, and that's just talking on one frequency. You have dual band, which can go from digital to our existing 460. You have tri-band, which can reach out. And if you go that, the radio gets bigger and it gets more expensive. So they could line up radios from here all the way to the end of the table. So it's just determining what kind of radios we want and what kind of microphones or handhelds. You know, I support a more robust system for the fire department because the radios under their jackets, they go in, you know, hazardous environments, and they have the handhelds that can control the actual radio itself, change the channels, turn it on, do things like that. I don't think the police need that. So, you know, that there's an example where we don't need that level. They do because they're covered up, their radios under they're not always reaching for their radio. They got their gear. We don't necessarily need all those controls up there, so that cost goes down. But you know, there's things that we can do to control some of those costs. So I think we need to get a cost on that side, and I think that we need to get agreements with Windsor, because those are the things that's why I think where we go. And then obviously wait for numbers to come through. We'll work with our consultant to move through how that looks. And then hopefully in May, I don't know what that process looks like, but we get our money and then we talk about moving forward. And, because I said it's shovel ready, there's things that we can do moving forward.
And the solution that we're talking about touches all the bases that we need to touch, touches fire, police, EMS, public works, social, senior services, the school.
Yeah.
All of our interest groups are covered.
Yes, and the school system, it will be significantly cheaper than the public safety system. While that's happening, I think we have to nail down the location with our partners in mapping of where that tower would be, where that second site in Broadbrook would be, because you have to have the two sites. And they both need to transmit and receive. So the location of where that is, and then working with planning and zoning or through our democratic system to get that approved. That needs to happen too.
We need planning and zoning approval prior to the bond commission. I don't think that's.
No, but we need the location of where it is. And if because we can move forward without that, we can have the 3 sites in Windsor and our site. We tested it and we got great results. Would you agree? With just those, and then the issue is that when you get out to Broadbrook, you get into the structures. And they could, Chief Bancroft and Chief Barton could talk about where you started to see some of the failures in that, and the mapping that Motorola provided to us, where you can start to see the shades go down where some of the coverage wasn't going to be. So it's ideal to have that second site out over here, and that may benefit the region beyond our borders.
I was gonna ask, it sounds like it helps us going out to
Right.
10 or.
Right, and the state saying we'll agree to pay for the majority of the system.
Anything else you want to throw in here that you haven't covered?
I'm hoping I got a B plus,
I think it's a B.
A plus. Wow. Yeah, that's it. That's all. I don't want to take up everybody's time.
Greater.
Yeah. Any questions that anybody has, you know where I am, I work Monday through Friday, 7 to 11 at night, 7 in the morning, 11 at night. So, you can get me anytime, hit me up, hit up any of the folks that are here, and we can get you the answer. So, because I imagine when this is a lot of information to digest, and I could have talked for hours, but we have other things to do.
Any other questions or comments for the chief?
Just thank you to you and the team for all your hard work and putting all this together, and a lot of information, and gotta move forward.
This has been a very full team lift, and everybody who's been at the table has been a participant at the table. It's very much appreciated. All right. Okay. Oh, chief. Okay. I don't know if we got everything on the computer yet. Restart. Doing that before. All right, moving right along, we have, as we discussed a little bit in the budget workshop, we have a couple of union negotiations that are coming up. And we've already gotten demands to negotiate from one of the unions involved. So I need to ask one of the members of the Board of Selectmen to join me on the negotiating teams for the police union, Mr. Baker.
Love to.
All right. And supervisors? Okay. That worked for me. Okay, so also, you'll remember on early February, we had a joint meeting with the Board of Education to talk about the conditions of our school facilities and how we proceed forward. Dr. Tudrin and I spoke today. The school has set up facilities subcommittee, and to kind of facilitate the conversation continuing to move forward, I thought it would make some sense for us to have some representation from our group to interact with that facility subcommittee. Not in a decision-making capacity, but just to kind of facilitate conversation and bring opportunities back to our respective boards for and when decisions are necessary. So Sarah, you've been the liaison for the Board of Ed.
Mhm.
Would you mind?
No, I'd love to. I'd be happy to do that.
All right.
So we're not establishing a Board of Selectmen school facility board.
No, it's really an extension of the liaison function. But in a more participatory fashion than we typically do. I mean, the conversations need to happen. They need to originate there, and then before decisions are made, binding legal decisions, they need to come back to. Which turns us now back to discussion of the budget. Like, there's no, puts out on there.
What's the question? Sorry, I'm going back to the radio system. Do we need to make a motion to give you permission to talk with Windsor or anything, or not until you come back to us?
You just need to give me, you just need to approve any interlocal agreement that we may come to.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, we left off at town properties.
Could I suggest that we maybe cover the other items for people waiting for, some of the other items, like including G. And I don't know if any of the other ones, maybe we can cover at least G before we, take time on the budget.
I don't have an issue with that. All right, so I'd ask for, G, that's not. My packet's out of order.
You want a motion to move out orders?
Yes, please.
Make a motion that we move auto order, under new business D and move it to,
Just take up agenda 9G.
and take up agenda 9G. Instead of
So the motion is to postpone the budget discussion and take up agenda item 9G.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. I'm trying to find my. Okay, on February 15th, Dr. Tudrin communicated to me that the Board of Education is expressing interest in moving forward with the demographic study for the school district. This is as a follow-up to our conversation at that joint meeting. I think that this is something that we're going to need, we're going to need before we can determine which path, if any, to take. We need to know what the studies and the professional projections are for enrollment in the school district over however that long in that period is, 10 or 20 years. So the money is already available within the project. We've already appropriated money for it. Or as an addendum to the project with the HVAC system. So the costs are covered. When we had the conversation jointly, I didn't have a strong sense that there was consensus amongst the board to move forward with the demographic study. So that's why I'm bringing it back here rather than just saying that we can do this within the funding that's appropriated. I think we absolutely need to do this before we can have any idea what pathway makes the most sense. I think having the information is going to be helpful. And we're looking at it at a cost of somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000 in order to do it. We're working on aggregating 3 quotes. Candidly, I have the quotes. They're being assessed by CSG. And if you guys are comfortable moving forward, at the next meeting, we'll have a memo from CSG with the quotes and their recommendations.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I was just a little leery at that joint meeting, not knowing, just being told the funding was there, but not knowing where it was coming from or approximate cost was why I kind of was a little leery at that time. But since you've looked into that and the money is available, and I'm okay with moving forward.
Okay.
I think one of the other things is the board ed members had indicated they wanted to have a meeting and discuss some stuff prior to a decision, and I don't know if they've had that or not.
Oh, that's right too.
We had our first facility subcommittee meeting yesterday, and one of the topics that came up was wanting to move forward with this study. feeling like it's the initial, first step that needs to take place. Before, like deciding any additional steps.
And we had talked about it as a whole board at our meeting prior to that as well, after the joint meeting we did this.
So I attended the Board of Ed, I don't know what they call it, the facilities management meeting. It was actually really good, a subcommittee meeting. And I was able to get the benefit of those comments, plus I was at the joint meeting. And I'm glad tonight that we're not having a Board of Selectmen separate school facilities working group, because that came up as a potential issue where the school would have their working group and the selectmen would have another. But I want to just continue with my concern, I'll call it concern, that I think the Board of Education should be doing all of this. I think the Board of Education should be making all of doing the study, doing the recommendations, doing the analysis, and then coming back, I think our role as board selectmen is to sort of be cheerleaders. Maybe we can participate as needed to say, hey, listen, I think your idea is crazy or not, but not as a decision maker, just as feedback. My experience with, again, I'm gonna point out South Windsor, I was at the beginning on the town council and Board of Education when they started their process of doing 4 brand new elementary schools. One of the most important things was that they did their homework and they did their analysis. They prepared, they were ready to roll it out to the community as one unit, and that they were very cautious about having multiple groups and people having different ideas, because I think it's poison to have like different boards and commissions weighing in on this concept. I think it has to be through the Board of Education. And I didn't mean poison literally, but it's just it has the potential for derailing it. If the Board of Finance got involved or the Board of Selectmen got involved, this is strictly a Board of Education process. Bring me to the demographic study.
Thank you.
So there was some discussion about what does it mean? Like one of the members, well, I won't say their name, said, do we really have room for housing in East Windsor? Asking the question about, significant housing developments based upon the fact that we don't have a lot of infrastructure in the areas, even where we have farms, lack of sewer, lack of water. Other people, I think, might believe, hey, we have lots of opportunity for housing. And I think that I know from my experience, in my profession, when you do evaluations, it depends on what questions you ask. That's how you're gonna get your information back. It's all up front. What questions are you gonna ask? And what is the scope of the work and what do you want them to accomplish? I'd like to see the Board of Education and the superintendent control the process of the demographic study, asking the questions, and I'd like them to review the quotes or the bids, and I'd like them to make a recommendation to us why they think that bid should be funded if we have to decide that. Of course, the school does the bids all day long, they're competent to do that. I just don't think the Board of Selectmen should be involved in weighing in on schools' facility study at this point. It's just gonna be too many opinions, too many cooks in the kitchen. And so I'd like to approve the demographic funding, but I'd like to have the study, the questions that go out for the demographic study for the bids to be done by the school board or the Board of Ed or the superintendent. And then they decide what bids they want and let them manage it all. I don't think the Board of Selectmen should be involved in managing any aspect of this at this point. And we should be prepared to be supporters, cheerleaders, when the time comes to communicate to the community why this result is going to be good for our community. It's my personal opinion.
So the Cliff Notes version is you're comfortable moving forward with the demographic study.
Not the way it's been proposed. I think you said already that there's been like quotes that are coming in.
Right.
I don't think we should have us sending out requests for quotes. I think superintendent and the Board of Ed should send out requests for quotes. But what have they been asked to quote?
The buildings are under the preview of the town, correct?
Well,
The buildings
that's
are ours.
debatable, but the demographic study is going to look at population. It's not going to look at what the academic needs of the structures are or what the planning for the buildings are. It's going to look at what the enrollment projections are over a 10-15 year period. And I'm going to respectfully disagree. I think that the consultant who we've hired, who is expert in this field, specifically in school construction, ought to be deciding what questions are appropriate for decision makers to move forward.
I think the question of the consultant is already So the town hired a consultant. I did before my time. The consultant, I don't know if the Board of Ed or hired the consultant, but the town is a consultant. I was there in the consultant's presentation. I think that, the questions that were asked the consultant, you got back answers. You know, we got back answers for it. I think the question should come from the Board of Education, should be Board of Education driven. Demographic studies, if I say, okay, I like a demographic, I'd like to know what the enrollment's gonna be in East Windsor. Okay, next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, great, if that's the only question we ask. Okay, good, but someone's gonna ask them the question, I'd like you to consider the farming part of our community and the lack of infrastructure or the presence of infrastructure. And I'd like you to talk about the new development in Warehouse Point and what that's gonna do with housing over there. And I'd like you to consider these things. Well, those questions should come from the educators as to what the demographic study should be about. I just feel
Those types of questions wouldn't be relevant in a town our size though, because we only have one elementary school, one middle school, one high school. It's not like you're gonna be thinking about in South Windsor where there's 4 or 5 elementary schools and one may be growing at a different rate than the other. Here, the corporate limits of our town are all go to the same buildings.
But I think actually it's more complicated in East Windsor, having fewer students, having 3 buildings, and having the demographic challenges that we have. I think it's more challenging to do a project like this in East Windsor than it was in South Windsor. In South Windsor, it would just develop a plan, get community buy-in, get the teacher buy-in, get the staff buy-in, and push ahead and make sure you have enough money to do it. We have more challenges in East Windsor. We have to make decisions about 2 schools versus 3 schools. Where are they going to be located? New versus they need new construction. We're gonna be talking about new versus renovation like this. I stated it before, I think all of this should be, it's not because I don't want to be involved, I'd love to be involved. But I don't think I play a role as a select person whatsoever in any aspect of this. And I think it should be entirely with the people that do education in this town. Let them come back with us with proposals, and I'd be happy to give feedback personally. Demographic study, in my opinion, the bid should go out from a bid specs that are created by the superintendent with the Board of Education, not by us. That's my opinion. And so.
Now,
I agree with them. We should do the demographic study, and I'm happy that Sarah will be over there to report back and keep us updated.
I don't have a problem with skill.
sir,
I don't have anything to add.
okay. Now, let's get back to the budget.
You want to take anything on the Monday?
Oh, yeah, we can get it. Okay, so let's take 9F, please.
Move to take agenda item 9F out of order.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Madam Clerk, good evening.
Hi.
You have a grant proposal for us.
Yeah.
This is the annual library grant. Tell us about what you're going to do with the money.
So the past, 2 years, we've been able to, well, I'm currently in the middle of one of my grants right now, so scanning our land records. When I started, land records were back to, I think it was January 1st of 77. We made it back to March 1st, 74. Currently, we're scanning, I did the second cycle for the grant, so we're kind of overlapping. I'm not sure how far back that's gonna take us, so I'm just applying again for this upcoming 2025 fiscal year grant. So it's just taking the, our land records and we scan everything in, and then our software vendor, they have other people that will go in after hours and on the weekends and index all the documents for us, which is great. There's a lot entailed to it. They have to read through everything. So I think it's just a great service to anybody, title searchers, residents, anybody that wants to use our land record system. You don't have to handle the books as much, which it deserves it. And like I said, once they're online, then anybody can really have access to them, so.
Any questions or comments for Amy? Can I have a motion to authorize my signature on the grant application and to designate Amy Lamb as the designee for the town for this project?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Have a good night. That's not a piece, that's a policy meeting or something. Okay. Now, back to the budget. All right, we left off at town properties. We made that one adjustment to hydrants to reflect the updated water company rates. Any other changes in this budget?
Make a motion that we accept town properties proposed budget of $1,254,264.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I cannot believe I'm seeing you use paper.
Computer, no choice. I'm gonna make it into something, something useful.
Yeah, we need to work that. Okay, we're on road improvements.
To approve road improvements in the amount of $430,000.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
So just on this budget, just asking, so if the salt is lower than it needs to be, can we shift that money into road maintenance?
That's what we do every year.
We do,
If you look at the history on here,
right?
you'll see on the lower side of the salt, like in 21, 22,
Right.
which I think is the same one we picked up that the overtime was really low. The road maintenance number is higher than what was budgeted.
That's from the shift.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Building committee,
Move to approve building committee at $1,200.
is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We're gonna skip sanitation for now. Senior services,
Move to approve senior services at $280,516.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Elderly commission,
Move to approve the elderly commission at $750.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Social services,
Move to approve social services at $204,752.
Second.
motion has been made and seconded, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So the libraries really are separate, but they're in one department. Do you guys want to approve the department or the individual libraries?
Rather just approve the line. Well, budget.
Okay, make a motion.
Make a motion to approve the libraries at $341,700.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
I think, is it okay?
Yep.
You know, the Warehouse Point Library, their request was $337,450. The reduction is about $31,000, I think, from their request.
21.
21.
Oh, sorry, 21. That's about, that's a pretty significant reduction from the department head's request.
Yeah, they asked for 9%.
Yeah, they asked for 9% and they asked for it all in wages after doing 5% raises over each of the last 3 years.
They showed us data that showed that their capita costs for all different areas in the Warehouse Point Library were below per capita costs and spending for, spending for a whole variety of other communities around us. And they also showed us that their wages had been progressively moving up, but still were significantly lower than other departments. And we have a new director who is licensed and credentialed. And she would like to, she came in asking us for her support to try to fund her budget. And I think that maybe we should, not saying fund her to a full amount, but reconsider here and perhaps add another $10,000 or $12,000 into this to show the library board and the librarian that we can't fund her fully this year, but that we don't want to make that kind of drastic cut to her request. I fear that it's just going to be viewed as being a lack of support from the board of selectmen as to the Warehouse Point Library.
So I have shared with her other non-budgetary funding options that are available to her, highlighting the Department of Revenue Services Neighborhood Assistance Act, which has been successful for supporting the Trolley Museum, and the congressionally directed spending process, which has been successful in supporting a whole bunch of stuff. So there is a partnership there with that agency, and we're trying to support them how we're able, but we have to be tax conscious too. That said, you want to make an adjustment, so I'd ask the maker and the seconder of the motion if they would be amenable to an motion to an amendment.
You hear it? Oh, I'd like to make a motion that we amend the Warehouse Point Library component to $327,000.
Is there a second?
Well, I made that original motion. And so we have a.
Oh, right,
motion.
we're amending your motion. So is that motion amenable?
Yes.
Is there a second? Is the second amenable?
Sure.
Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed?
Aye.
I would say yes.
I vote no. So the libraries are still on the floor.
Oh, go back to my original thing. I'd make a motion to fund the libraries at $341,700.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Recreation. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve recreation at $370,825.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
I have some. So this is the other department that did not come in at the requested 2% increase. In fact, their increase is at 7.53%. And so my comments are similar, but distinct from my comments about Public Works that came in way over the requested, first selectmen's request for a 2% budget. I can see that the salaries are in line with the same salary increases with the related departments, which were senior services and social services, so I don't have a problem with that. But there's part-time salaries that have increased by 16%, and professional services by 58%, site improvements by 20%. And even though supplies are down 30%, that's a much smaller amount. I think that the department head needs to find a way to work within her budget, within reason. And increasing budgets for the department at 7.5% doesn't seem to be sustainable. And the department head didn't come in and justify why her budget needs to be at 7.5% while she was asked to come in at 2%. So I won't be able to support this tonight.
So I will say that the department head always operates within the constraints of her budget. And she's quite adept at getting the most she can out of the money that she's afforded. there are some things in here well, I'll leave it at that. I think Melissa does a great job managing this. I think the work product speaks for itself, and I think she did do a justification in terms of putting forward her budget. She gave one of the more comprehensive presentations of what they do and what she's trying to do of any department that we have. So I guess I saw a different presentation than you did. And I already reduced her request by $12,000, including removal of another paid intern position to supplement the summer camp program. There is still one included in there, but I already made reductions to this budget off of the request.
Can I ask you a question? The recreation summer camp income, which is listed as separate income. Is there a reason why the summer camp is not?
So the cost of summer camp,
That's my question.
the
I just wanted to ask, why is it not self-supporting? And why are we paying?
So these are two different kinds of staff. The summer camp staff is in the same place where the revenue is, in a special revenue fund. This is lifeguards, snack shack people. This is not necessarily summer camp staff.
So the part-time salary line item was $62,000 3 years ago. And that number is now going to be almost $102,000.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's probably before we started going to the huge minimum wage increases. Every time the starter person gets 14 to 15 to 16, 1569 now, the other people that are coming back for year 2 and 3 also have to go up. So we've had a multiplier effect of the people that work for us that come back year after year because of the minimum wage increases. So I think the year you're looking at, the 62, is before the minimum wage started to go up by significant amounts each year.
So
But also the COVID year, which means we had less staff on the books.
40% increase, well, even the actual year-to-date actual for 23-24, well, that's the current actuals. It's gone up $40,000 on a $60,000 budget, so that's 66%, over 65% in 3 years. And I think, it goes back to the criticism I had earlier. I understand the wage increases for minimum wage, but that minimum wage increases don't account for a 65% increase in the budget over 3 years. And if the budget
50% increase over 5. They went from 10 to 1569. That's a 50%, 56% increase.
And if it's going up that much in terms of the cost, we need to find a way to reduce the number of employees we have to stay within budget. Just can't have 7.5% increases in departments every single year. It just doesn't make any sense. This budget has gone from $285,000 in 2021 to $370,000 in just 3 years. These are not 2% increases every year, or 2.5% increases. We're talking about large, very large substantial increases, and it's not every department in the town. It seems like 2 departments are getting large increases, and all the other departments have to stay under their 2%. Many of them stayed under 1%, including the police department, which is the largest budget in the town, came under 0.5%. Everybody else does it, but these 2 departments, and it just seems that it's our job as voting on the budget to constrain the spending and make sure that it's affordable. 7.5% increases in spending is not something sustainable. So I just can't support it.
So the significant change within the budget, budget for recreation over 5 years has to do with the summer concerts. That is what drives the professional services change for several of the years. And if you think about when the minimum wage started to increase, the minimum wage started at $10 an hour, and it's now $15.69 an hour. That's more than a 50% increase in the part-time salary line. That's on track with where we are. There is the new initiative, not new initiative, the existing initiative now of having a summer intern to offset the overtime costs that are incurred by the 2 full-time employees of the department. So if you're going to have programming that meets the needs of people particularly in the warm weather months in the summertime, you're going to pay for it either in your overtime line, or you're going to pay for it in an internship line. And I think that I think they do the best they can with the resources that they have. And I also think for 10 or 15 years before most of us took office, this department was it was neglected. It was not supported to the degree where we were meeting our constituents' needs, our constituents' desires, and I think we are doing that now. So, any other comments?
I support this budget. I think Mrs. Maltesi did give a great presentation and explanation. I'm proud to support the summer concerts and that increase. I think that's one of the best things that's happened to this community, and we need programs and things to keep people engaged. And I'm not willing to cut that. I think that's something that we've come a long way in offering programs to families in town, and I support it.
Any other comments?
I'm just kind of piggyback on that. I think this is a quality of life issue for the community. I think I think most people want this type of programming. They respond well to the programming when it's offered. And I think that it's what people expect when they live someplace, not just, is your road paved, do the cops come and everything. They want to be able to do some stuff. They want to send their kids to summer camps. They want to have things to do. They want to have parks that are, more than just a large open area with crabgrass, so I think this is a decision that a community makes, fund something like this. So, people are getting some sort of recreation in their own community and not wandering off other places. So that's why I support it.
All in favor?
I
Right?
Opposed?
No,
So carried. Historical Commission,
move to approve the historical commission at $750.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
I
Opposed? We don't touch the Board of Education debt service.
Move to approve the debt service line at proposed $946,697.
second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
I
Opposed?
Move to approve capital improvement at $1,214,310.
Is there a second?
second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
I
Opposed? Employee benefits.
Move to approve the proposed employee benefits line at $3,559,701.
Is there a second?
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I
Opposed? Contingency.
Contingency, I'd like to move to approve contingency at the proposed $190,000.
second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
I have a question about this. The second contingency line item, the $50,000, that sits within a separate, it's not within a department, right? It's within this contingency line?
Yep.
Okay,
Has to get voted and moved to the whatever department it needs to go to.
because it's not existing in the department.
Right.
Any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So. Okay, so that leaves us on the town side of the budget. That leaves us at a budget of $18,218,014, which equates to a 2.36% spending increase. That request started almost $2 million higher than that. So there is one more piece that we have not taken up yet, and we can't until after executive session. So I'd ask that we table this, and we will potentially be coming back to it after executive session.
Make a motion to table this and come back after executive session.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
I
Opposed? Okay. So we have, excuse me. We have an existing town policy that allows employees to donate sick time to coworkers who are, laid up for extended periods of time if they don't have time of their own. We have an employee, she is a single mother who, between Christmas and New Year's, slipped on some ice and broke her ankle, high ankle break, required surgery. She was out from the Christmas break through April 1st. She's extinguished her own banks of time. Employees, according to the policy, have donated up to 3 days each to help her bridge the gap. But that has not bridged the gap all the way. There is a policy that says that any one employee can only donate up to 3 days of sick time. I'm asking the board to consider waiving that in this case, so we can help her both literally and metaphorically get back on her feet until she's able to rejoin us at the beginning of the year. So what I'm asking for is for the board to waive the policy so that we can help her bridge that gap.
So you're asking for a specific waiver for a specific employee. And you gave us the policy that exists.
So you can read the policy.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the policy for donating sick leave for the individual that was reported to us tonight by the first one.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yep, is this a negotiated policy with the union as part of the contract?
It is not. It's not very likely here. I mean, it predates me, so I should back off of that. I do not believe it is.
I believe it is.
Which union?
This is for police.
No, this is,
Oh, it's not.
that's policy, not,
Oh.
this does not
Oh,
pertain to
okay,
police.
all right, yours is in the contract, okay, I'm sorry, so it's not an ours, yeah, no problem there.
Further discussion.
My only thing is, we're waiving it for this individual, and you're gonna set a precedent moving forward for town employees, so if you're gonna make an amendment, maybe you should move to this policy so that it's not showing favoritism to one person and
I'd be more than happy to reconsider the policy. That doesn't help the employee in a particular circumstance. I'd like to do that.
take care of that today, but then I think we need to address this to change this moving forward.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tax refund.
Move to approve the tax refunds totaling $3,272.98.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So. All right. So I didn't have an opportunity to prepare a selectmen's report. I was in Hartford for most of the day, but I'll give kind of a Cliff Notes version. So first of all, over the last couple of weeks, I testified on a number of bills in front of the General Assembly pertaining to local control in the siting of grid scale solar projects and advocating for the legislature to make changes empowering municipalities in that regard. I would like to give a tip of the hat to both the boys and the girls varsity basketball teams, each of whom made it to the second round of the state tournament. The boys lost this evening, which is very, very disheartening to hear. I started the day today as an invited guest at a private funeral for a Vietnam veteran who was a POW in Vietnam prior to the commencement of hostilities in Vietnam. He was one of the very first American presences on the ground in the Vietnam War, and including spending time as a POW. And I just wanted to recognize him. He was a constituent here in town, and express my appreciation for being included in that. It was a really touching service. On the 5th, this past Tuesday, I participated in Read Across America, organized by Deputy Chief Murphy, involving all of our emergency services. That was a blast, and I love doing stuff like that and look forward to doing that again anytime, I'm invited. Coming up on March 22nd is a charity basketball game, between the boys and girls varsity teams against the East Windsor Police Department, which I think will be a lot of fun. The following day, March 23rd, will be the Bunny Breakfast, which is a fundraiser to support our park and recreation programs. And then the budget presentation, once we finalize it, will be presented it'll be presented to the Board of Finance on the 20th, but I will actually present the Board of Selectmen's budget on the 27th. Those are the high level things as of now, and I'll pass the baton to Marie.
The East Windsor Police Commission held a special meeting on February 21st, which I attended. The commission discussed their financial statements and approved them. Police Chief Carl made the commission aware of the mental health care support program. Station Dog, he discussed the 2 position changes in their organizational chart, the renovation of the lieutenant's office, and the radio system movement. The commission then went into executive session to interview candidates for police officers and dispatchers. And it's my understanding, though it's not part of my report, that they have made some hires. The East Windsor Housing Authority also had a meeting on that day, which I could not attend due to the time overlap. I stopped in and spoke to Director Collins the next morning for an update. Financial statements were discussed and approved. Discussion of the community development broadband needs took place. They need to apply for capital needs, is required for at least. They have to apply for a capital needs grant. Capital needs is required, as the last one was done in 2013. It is required to be completed every 10 years. Also, radon testing is required and has been completed in-house with kits provided by the State Health Department. The 2 trees mentioned in the previous report have been removed. On February 28th, 2024, the water pollution control meeting again due to budget meeting conflicts. I wasn't able to attend. Here are some highlights taken from their minutes. The Laurel View Estates LLC policy change will take place on July 1st, 2024. This is just the sewer use billing from the homeowner to the landowner. They're in the process of working out the bugs in the new billing software. The emergency backup floats are also being replaced, and the chairman was given authorization to negotiate with the first selectman to purchase the back truck. And that's all I have.
Awesome.
We've been contacted.
I have that.
Surprise.
Sarah, I'm sorry, Alan.
Yeah, so I just have the one meeting to report on, wetlands last night. And they just had one application that approved a permit for the Trolley Museum to improve their parking lot. And that's it.
Sarah.
Back on February 17th, I participated in the Panther Plunge along with Jason and Marie at East Windsor Park to help raise money for the East Windsor Fuel Bank. It was a great example of the community coming together for such a worthy cause, with many organizations such as the East Windsor Police Union and also the chief and deputy chief taking part, and many spectators to cheer everyone on. $18,217 was raised this year. On February 27th, the Arts and Culture Committee held their rescheduled meeting. I was out of town, but I did follow up with their chairman and reviewed their minutes. The committee has received an overwhelming response of people wishing to take part in the birdhouse decorating project. They've had 40 inquiries and agreed to purchase additional birdhouses from Home Depot to meet these requests. Open mic night will be April 27th at the Connecticut Trolley Museum from 6 to 8 p.m. and potential performers are encouraged to send an email to ewartsandculture@gmail.com. Performances can include spoken word, short stories, poetry, music, or comedy. Perkins Market donated 2 bags of river rock for the the Rock River at the Broadbrook School. And over 13,000 bottle caps have been donated, and that's going to be for a mosaic art project that will be designed at Arts and Culture Day, which is May 18th. On March 4th, I attended the Warehouse Point Fire District meeting. There were 51 calls in the month of February. The fire marshal's office has a total of 191 inspections scheduled for the fiscal year 2023-2024. 95 have been completed. 96 are still required to date, and 85 re-inspections or site visits for enforcement have been completed. Broadbrook Fire Department and Warehouse Point Fire Department gave presentations to students at East Windsor High School about fire services. There were 6 students interested, and I guess Broadbrook Fire Department did receive 1 application so far. The board voted to approve their FY 2024-2025 budget at $1,297,011.54, which is a mill rate of 1.89 and an 8.55% increase over last year. There will be a public hearing held on April 9th at 6:30 at the fire station on Bridge Street. The fire department is lacking volunteers, and Chief Barton explained that he is often the only one responding to calls on the weekends. A main portion of the increase is to upgrade staffing to 3 people at 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at $209,000. Other options were discussed by the commission, but they as a whole felt that this fulfilled the district's obligation to its residents to adequately provide fire services. A one-time $60,000 spend down from the fund balance was unanimously approved to be spent on gear, knock boxes, and the chief's vehicle. Jason already mentioned the co-ed basketball game. They're also, the first responders of East Windsor are hosting Gavin's Home Makeover pasta dinner on Sunday, April 28th at the firehouse on Bridge Street. There will be 3 seatings at $20 per ticket, and they can be purchased online at whpfd.org. And lastly, I'd like to congratulate East Windsor Ambulance Chief Thomas Clinch on his retirement, which was effective March 1st, and thank him for his many years of service and dedication to the community. And that's all I have.
Just a few things. I attended the Arts and Culture Committee meeting. Sarah's already reported on that. The BMX Bike Committee, I attended their meeting. They're getting set up for their annual golf tournament. They're going to be releasing information about that. So that's a big fundraiser for them.
Do they have a date for that yet?
You know, they do. I don't have the flyer with me.
Is it at Grassmere yet?
Yes, it's a repeat of last year. And then I attended the Board of Education Facilities subcommittee meeting that we already discussed with them.
Okay. Public participation. This is a public second opportunity to address members of the Board of Selectmen. I'll first ask if there's anybody here in the room who would like to address us, and then invite anybody online to do the same. Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Wayne Sherry, Depot Street. I'm concerned about a safety issue. I brought this up once before. People seem to be jogging or walking in the dark hours. Now we're changing the light with the clocks again, but still that brings us into the morning. It's dark between the distance that the pond is on the bottom of Depot Street. And the cars seem to have competition as they start off in Pierce Lane to East Road, vice versa. And if you have a motorcycle, guaranteed it's 50 miles an hour minimum. And, you know, when it's dark out, there's nowhere to go there. Widen the road, put speed bumps in, put a street light there. I don't know what to tell you, but it's, you can constantly see it. As you drive through there tonight on the way home, you'll see how dark it is. And can you imagine somebody walking on the street, you know?
So tonight was a good night to raise that as an issue. I'm sure our police department can add that to the STEP program. Thanks, guys.
And you know, it's, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's a problem. If you've ever been down there at night, like you will tonight, you'll see it's really dark. And in the summertime, it attracts a lot of people later in the evening, just out for a stroll. Nice night, little pool or something. They're walking up and down the street. And I don't know what you can do. What can you do?
Well, we'll start with doing some local traffic enforcement and see if we can slow things down.
You know what I'm talking about. You guys have been down there. They had a radar set up down there.
And we have a speed trailer, we put in.
Yeah, that-
We don't have, our lights are red and blue. They're not gonna light up the area too much. Not really looking forward to it.
You can park in my yard if you wish. It's no problem.
Well, I just made a note to add it to the.
Okay,
Thank you. Anything else, sir?
that's it.
Nice to see you. Any other public comments?
You did put streetlights, improve the bulbs on each side, but that's probably a radius of 60 feet. On each streetlight, you put LED in it. It helped.
Good. Yes, sir. Name and address.
Couple of questions, Tom Barton, Kings Court, Broadbrook, towards the police department. At any one point in time, you've lost communications? That you couldn't talk out to anybody?
Oh, absolutely, multiple times.
Do you have a plan B, like maybe yell a little louder?
Okay, well, we have the Tango app and also Marcus has got a plan. If we lose it entirely, they got a plan to put in a computer system, but it's gonna be expensive. It's a rented system, it's expensive. We're renting a system now. So,
Question number two. Says when you get involved with Windsor, every once in a while I get a notification. They've lost communications, their cell phones or either their landlines go out. You know anything about that?
well, recently, I know the cell carriers have they've been cyber attacked, last month or whatever. I know that the system we talked about that we're building with Windsor, it has no single point of failure, so the microwave is the most, I guess, robust system, the most efficient. But there's also fiber. All of our police departments and all of the critical structures have fiber. The fiber will be a backup. So there'll be two systems. There'll be fiber, which is more of a landline thing, and then there's microwave. So the system we want to build would most likely, it would have to be catastrophic if you should lose at least radio communications. The landlines are a little bit different.
They usually give an alternate number to call.
Yeah. So we haven't lost our landline in our area. We've lost our communications, but that's because of our equipment.
Is there any other public comment? I'm gonna ask the comment to be directed towards the board. Yes, sir.
Well, to comment on Selectman Youngloff's question about the ham radio possibilities with the tower that's potentially going to get built and utilized as a backup to, for instance, some sort of grid failure, like, they're mentioning. Is that something that could be, added on? Is that something that could be? Is the other gentleman who's here probably better to answer that question? He said it would be just one, would be, it wouldn't be able to go that full circle. Because he said there was like a 4-hour window for battery or something like that, but that's not too much.
Are you specifically referring to him?
Yes.
So that's, I recently started attending and conversing with people in the emergency management area, and that was actually specifically brought up by the chief's the emergency management director and the deputy. And that was actually brought up in some other, of the emergency management functions in the state, they actually have ham radio operators. So when we get to the point of self-building our team, they actually spoke about that being a possibility as well.
Okay.
Because it's basically a fail safe, that's what.
Yeah, like, I don't think there'd be too much to include that.
Definitely, so they're gonna start, we're gonna actually do something systematically as we put into place, but that's something that they spoke about as well as like a fail safe. As Jim said, they grid does go dark.
Any other public comment from folks here in the room? Is there anybody online who would like to address the members of the Board of Selectmen?
Hi, Jason, it's Noreen Farmer, 247 South Water Street. As you're finally coming to the end of your budget season, I'd like to thank you all for the time and effort you put into making sure that the town moves forward a little bit and where we can in as many areas as we can. Thank you. It's a big undertaking.
Thank you very much. Anybody else online like to address the members of the Board of Selectmen? Seeing none, I'd ask for a motion to go into executive session to include just the members of the Board of Selectmen action to follow.
Make a motion to go into executive session at 9:08.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're in executive session at 9:08. All right, it is 10:06. We're out of executive session. We're going to return to the discussion and adoption of the Board of Selectmen budget proposal. Open item is sanitation.
I'll move to approve sanitation at $1,209,244.
Second,
Hang on a second.
I can repeat it if you need me to. 209,244.
1,209,244. On the motion, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? That would leave, on the town side, a budget of $18,196,802 or 2.25% over last year. That, I gotta say, that is a good number. Okay, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the town budget at $18,196,802, which is a 2.25% increase, and forward it to the Board of Finance.
Is there a second?
second,
Discussion?
I have a couple of comments. Go ahead.
You got it.
So I know it's not related to the bottom budget line, but I know, and we're not voting on this, but I just want to get my 2 cents in on the use of the fund balance. I don't support the use of $1.2 million fund balance. I know that's going over to the Board of Finance. I just wanted to say that. I'm not gonna be able to support the budget tonight. I'm not gonna repeat the reasons why. I went through my concerns about the budget for different departments. And for those reasons, I'm just gonna be unable to support the budget as presented here.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Opposed?
No,
Budget passes. With no further business to come before the Board of Selectmen, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'll move that we adjourn at 10:08 PM.
second.
Motion has been made and seconded. It's non-debatable. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.